Today, we are headed to Anomabu, a town located in the central region that holds the history of slavery as well as those who fought to create a better Ghana. We have just arrived at Memorial Garden, a garden dedicated to honor those who fought to create a better Ghana, as well as those who were taken away captive as slaves, never again to return. Walking in, I was immediately amazed at how inviting and warm welcoming this place was. This garden was created by His Excellency, the former President of Ghana. Dr. James is honored for the role he played in fighting for women to attend school in Ghana. His vision extended globally. The first chief of Anomabu, Nana, fought to ensure that the land of Ghana was not stolen by Britain. The sword in which he bears in his hand represents his authority. A once divided Ghana, Mr. Ferguson was beheaded by British leaders for his role in seeking to unite a divided Ghana. The various statues that you see present were created by students to pay homage to those that were taken away captive, but now returning back to Ghana. They couldn't hold us down forever, and now we are coming back to the true knowledge of self. Together on both sides of the Atlantic, let us work together to make sure that never again will we allow a handful of people with superior technology to walk into Africa, seize our people, and sell them into slavery. Initiated by our current president of the Republic of Ghana. And then we head across the street to Fort Williams. Behind these doors lie a gruesome story of our brutal history in slavery. This is Fort Williams.
See, this man, who does this man resemble?
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
That's Snoop Dogg. We always refer to him as Snoop Dogg's grandfather.
I was saying in my head.
He said that.
Yes, he resembles Snoop Dogg. Yes. Yes.
I'm very sure Snoop Dogg is from Anomabu.
Yeah.
Tucked away and forgot about, yet the history of Fort Williams could never be erased. Fort Williams was built by the British with the sole intention of slavery in mind. This is a slave route. Slaves were brought from as far as Chad down into Ghana to a slave market where they used them to barter for goods and services such as flour, corn, and the likes. They were treated as a mere trading commodity. Those held captive were led into this room considered the auction room. Here, slaves were picked at, poked at, bodily parts examined, and the bid for slave possession began. With the increase in demand for slavery, the need for slaves became a hot commodity. The unsettling eeriness of this room holds the story of many women who were held here captive, naked, afraid, beaten, separated from their families, left with little food, and often very poor living conditions, relieving themselves, eating, and sleeping all in the confines of the same space. Visiting these various forts and castles, I'm often met with a pain that is unshakable. Those women who found favor in the eyes of the British men were led into this dungeon where they were held and taken as wives, oftentimes impregnated, and if they were lucky enough, were sent back into the town to begin a life bearing the new name of the husband who had taken them. Those who were fortunate enough to be transferred into this dungeon were treated with an extra privilege. Oftentimes that included more food and better treatment. Children were ripped away from their mothers and held here in this dungeon until slave ships arrived. I felt the pain, I felt the heartache, I felt the tears of the children who were held here against their will. Soulless humans really do exist. And for those that thought to be rebellious were held here and chained like an animal. Here, the male captives were ushered in, held against their will, and treated worse than an animal. A hole is carved out in the ceiling where not enough food to feed all of the men was sent in. Because of the scarcity of food, many men fought to their death for a chance to eat. It was survival of the fittest. I wonder if slave traders ever stopped to think that one day the favor would be returned upon their ancestors. The men who rebelled and were considered too dangerous were led into this chamber where they were held until their death. They were given no food or drink and would never see the presence of a ship. For those that survived the conditions in the dungeons, months later, they were met with the fate of boarding ships, never again to see their homeland. For the first time in months, they finally got to experience a breath of fresh air. Some seized this opportunity, fighting back, rebelling, breaking free, and even managing to escape, while others were thrown overboard if the ships were too heavy. But what about the story for the ones who actually managed to escape? A trip up these stairs leads to the living area of the British, as well as where they took their stance to protect against outside invaders. This room is where the British lived and entertained captive women of their choice. This building was reserved by the British to fulfill their cooking needs. They enjoyed a breathtaking view of a land that did not belong to them. Down this tunnel, the British had their ammunition stored, so anytime they were in need of some, they would just simply pull it up by rope. And it was this reservoir that they used to store water. Slaves were ordered to stand under this hole one at a time. Just a sprinkle of water concluded their bath. Here is where the British flag once hung. It is my hope that the Ghana flag will soon find its home here. Our history is filled with pain, sorrow, and many tears. But times are changing, and we are slowly reclaiming everything that was taken from us. I had no idea about this place, so I really thank you for taking the time and really just giving me the history on this. And thank you all for tuning in. I hope you guys also learned a piece of our history. And make sure that you like, comment, share, and of course, as always, subscribe.